Guys, welcome back to some more AFK Arena. Today we're back over on the YouTube account and we're going to be breaking down our final tier list of 2024, which is our December tier list. Now, thinking back over the last couple years, we've had some game-changing heroes. We've seen Randy come online, we've seen Nox, we've seen Skyland, and now we're seeing Goran that is coming online as well for the Maulers. Going to be interesting to break down this tier list, so let's go ahead and get into it. All right, guys, so here it is. This is our December, the final tier list of the year. Starting in the top left, like we always do, you can see Liberta still holding strong, awakened version of Athelia. This SSS tier, this very top tier hero, really holding strong. We have Lucila in there. We also still do have Lan in here. We have Demia in there, Aurelia, and then we have Lavatoon and Leica to round out the SSS tier. Now, thinking about these heroes, there is not a point in AFK Arena, there is not a place when you start looking at multiple teams that all of these heroes are being used, and they are being used in their entirety in every single game mode. Even thinking of the Temporal Rift, looking at the really the Twisted Realm, the Cursed Realm, the Nightmare Corridor, everywhere that these heroes are present and really prevalent is being used in AFK Arena. They are the absolute top priority. Even if you're newer to AFK Arena coming in, first time that you're stargazing, it should be Liberta in the entirety. First time that you're looking and utilizing that Temple of Time, it should be the awakened version of Athelia. They are going to be the really top tier 2 heroes that you're looking for. And even thinking of your Draconic heroes when you start getting insignias, land does make a really big difference even at a lower level. I'm running her right now at Mythic, still doing incredibly well with a higher level signature item, but still, again, fundamentally the skills and abilities are there. Now, Leica's another one, has her unique ability to not only shield individuals from damage, but also bring them into the formations a little bit later, making her a priority still in a lot of formations. Now we drop into the SS tier. So when you think of really the heroes that work independently or work by themselves or work or help develop and really support the rest of the heroes, when we think of the top 3 tiers, so anyone who falls in this S tier is pretty much a priority or a replacement priority within formations. So we start looking at Rimuru. Rimuru making a little bit of movement here, even though not in the area of the damage dealer, but as a support hero does incredibly well. Amelia is still here. Randy moving up the tier list. Now, when we think of best in slot for a couple different game modes and looking at the damage that Randy can put out, it is incredible to see really how much damage this hero is putting out. Now, of course, does require a pretty decent build to get that high-end damage, but once you do have him built, he is doing incredibly, not only as a primary damage dealer within a couple places like the Nightmare Corridor, doing a crazy amount of damage, but also if he is in a formation with another hero or another damage dealer, still does incredibly well. Jerome still buffing, does incredibly well. Super high buffing capacity, especially when it comes to light bearers like the awakened version of Belinda. And I'm still really shocked that the awakened version of Belinda is still holding as strong as we have seen. Now in here, we do have, of course, our first, I think our first actual 4 faction here, short of Rendell, which is Ivan. Ivan and Rendell in here, still doing incredibly well within the 4 factions. Easier to summon, easier to get out of desired hero summons, easier to get out of wish list, but still as a support hero making a game changer. Now Gavis, you'll notice, did drop down a little bit in the tier list. Again, playing primarily a support role within formations, moving, and again, utilization starting to be replaced as we continue to get new heroes. Now Palmer's still doing incredibly well, crit damage amplification. Aethys as a crowd control, or really a true, tried and true tank with the ability to shield, with the ability to crowd control, does work super well. Now Rem, still again kind of holding out. When you think of Rem being in a very top tier, when you don't have all of the heroes built in the entirety, Rem is the go-to. Let's say, for instance, you don't have Skyland or you don't have the awakened version of Iran. Majority of time, it is Rem. Rem is still going to be the best in slot for all of those formations, just by how fast she can put out damage. Naruko's still in here, and then of course we have Shuna in here. The awakened version of Shamira still holding strong in that SS tier. We have Misha in here, and there is Skyland. So Skyland, we knew burst damage coming out, maximum damage overall, was going to do incredibly well with another highborn Draconic hero, and you can see moving right into that SSS, or excuse me, the SS tier. Same with that awakened version of Thorin. Again, still seeing him kind of cheesed in a couple formations. Lucius, another one, still doing incredibly well. The problem with Lucius is you have to have a super high build on the hero. I am talking plus 40 signature item, higher usually than that 9 of 9 furniture, but you're looking at like a 72 engraving to get the maximum use out of him, and then stacking a very strong, well-built collection on top of it to really see the damage amplification that we're getting out of there. Now, Nox showing distance and really coming in the SS tier. Again, top tier when it comes to Nox being a support hero, being a hypo, which a lot of players don't think he's a hypo, but he is overall, but still seeing a lot of utility with this hero, and he is showing up in formations everywhere. Eugene still being used, the awakened version of Iran, same, still being used in a lot of different formations. Gwen as a primary damage dealer, and then Trishia is one I feel like is going to drop out of here and probably drop out pretty hard, but I believe even the iteration we just did, she is still being used in formations. And again, when you think of the best in slot in formations, still having a lot of utility in there. Now, when we get into this S tier, this is a very interesting one because Vithiel in here, even though he does considerable amount of damage, does still do quite a bit of buffing. And even though he is a tank, still seeing, again, a lot of utility in a lot of different game modes. Adrian Elise, again, another one, plus 40 signature item, still amplifying damage. Hildwyn in here. Now, you'll notice the Awakened version of Sophia and the Awakened version of Solus. So both of our support heroes are coming down a little bit down the tier list. This is due to all of the support heroes that we've been seeing as of lately, which is kind of crazy. When you think of having the ability or getting, Randy, then getting Nox and getting Misha, a lot of these heroes are coming out with unique skills and abilities that are pushing some of the Awakened heroes a little bit further down the line. Now, also with the Awakened version of Baden still holding strong, but again, seems like a lot of formations are starting to be replaced with Baden. Seems like he's not going to be holding on for that much longer. We have Nyla in here again as a support class, as a damage dealer. We have Tamris in here, buffer and a damage dealer. Buffer and a crowd control, which same thing as Kelthin. Kelthin does incredibly well, not only in the hypo tower, but as a substitute in a lot of formations, still seeing a lot of pull in there, and also very similar skills to Tamris with the ability to kind of crowd control everyone. Awakened version of Antandra, kind of disappointed with her overall. Still, again, as some of the best in slot as kind of niche formations at this point. Then we have Villanelle. Villanelle did incredibly well, but it was pretty short-lived. We have Rosaline in here, Alna in here, Rain as a buffer, Lady Simona. And then you'll notice right here, guys, coming already in the S tier is Goran. He is finding a place over on the test server. We are liking exactly how he's kind of filling into formations. Still working incredibly well as a super new hero, not even up on global servers until Tuesday. Kind of crazy to think that he is here. Rowan is in here again as a buffer, energy battery. You have Mortis as a buffer. Scarlet, burst damage. Scarlet still does incredibly well. Same with Orin, does very, very well when it comes to that buffing aspect. Silas still has the immunity, still has the attack rating buff. And then Matria still in here as it rounds up that S tier. Now, looking at our A tier, you'll notice that some of the heroes, again, are starting to see a little bit more utility, but some of them still do have the flexibility. Now, I'm not going to go through every hero that we have in here, but thinking of some of the utility with heroes such as Meleon right here, again, with having Skylin, seems like we're seeing, and we thought we'd see a lot more utility out of the hero, but unfortunately we're not. But looking at some, like even looking at Kelgor, PvP does incredibly well, but that is the only place the hero is shining, is that really the Treasure Scramble doing incredibly well PvP. Same with Vika. Vika is still in one niche formation, which is in the Nightmare Corridor. Still, for whatever reason, the design and really the build of the boss itself doing very well. Now, looking at a couple other ones, like Bron was very short-lived. Oden, unfortunately, power creep is taking over some of the damage dealers. Even looking at Twins and looking at Joan. Again, if you don't have all of these heroes built, these are going to be the heroes that are a lot of the substitution heroes in here, or are very, very niche in a lot of game modes. Because even getting into this B tier, you can see even the original version of Baden still in here. In the Nightmare Corridor, again, some of the very cheese formations still being used. Even Raku popping up every now and then as the best in slot, depending on what heroes do come with future releases. But a majority of these are going to be tied at this point really just to your faction towers. You're not going to see a lot of utility, if any utility at all, outside of those faction towers. And then we start getting into like our C tier. You can see most of these are all of the older heroes. When you start looking at the power creep, even thinking of someone which everyone is really voting to get Lucretia as an awakened hero, Lucy, absolutely pivotal. But it was a multitude of years ago. The power creep has taken it over for these damage dealers. We're not seeing any utility with the majority of these. Again, if you're using any of these heroes in here, most of them are just ones that you're picking up kind of random, even thinking wish list, even thinking tier list, not really used anywhere within AFK Arena. Even looking at Ainz and a couple other ones, not seeing a ton of utility with these heroes overall. And then, of course, we have our D tier, which is right down here in the bottom. These heroes are not even really worth building. Any of these don't really have and have not had any play in an incredible amount of time. Power creep took them over so long ago, and a lot of these are the originals. When you start thinking of Shimiro, when you think of K-Sauce, a lot of these are the original heroes to AFK Arena, and the power creep is already 5 years down the road at this point, meaning there's not a lot going on with these heroes. So overall, guys, when you start, again, kind of focusing, really the A tier and over is the ones you're going to be looking for. And even when you start getting into this A tier, when you think of filling out the factions or really picking specific heroes in here that are going to be effective in a lot of game modes, you can just go through and choose, like if we're looking for our light bearers, go down the list and really go down the tier list. If you're coming through, boom, we have Jerome right here, light bearer. We have Palmer as a light bearer. Absolutely both of those you want to draw into the wish list. As soon as you start AFK Arena, those are going to be two really big heroes. Even looking at Aethys, even going down, Naruko, looking at Misha. If you put all of these heroes, you figure you have 5 from each faction. So you have a total of 20 heroes. Even when you start getting down here a little bit further, putting these heroes into the wish list early will do incredibly well. And you'll notice that you make progression. You need 1 or 2 damage dealers, and you'll be able to make a lot of progression within AFK Arena. All right, guys, so that is going to do it. This is the last tier list of 2024. Till we get into 2025, have a lot of cool stuff that is coming up in December, and they always do a lot of things around the holidays. So, guys, again, that's going to do it for today's tier list. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, and as always, thank you guys for watching.